Hello, and we're live. My name is Jessica, and you may book a personal reading with me at any time at jgilly.com. That's jgilly.com. And this is the lovely Zara with SRG Soul Guidance. Oh, I think I am frozen.
You're frozen a little bit, but we can still hear you.
Oh,
Can you
good.
hear us?
Yes.
Good. Okay. There you go. You're back.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. And take it away. Introduce yourself, Zara.
Yes, Sarah. srgsoulguidance.com. And you can book through Sarah at srgsoulguidance.com. All different stuffs, but on the website there's a breakdown of bits and bobs, although that needs updating desperately. But yes, well, it's very nice to be invited back to my gorgeous Jilly.
Of course, we love having you, and we're both building our channels. We're taking it slow. We're not tech savvy, so we're just kind of plugging along, and like, share, subscribe, please. We don't pay for followers or subscribers. We do it the old-fashioned way, little by little, slow and steady. Right. But yeah, so we were just talking about the pre-shadow of this spiritual overhaul known as the Mercury retrograde coming up on the 29th. And it has been, I've got like my like moon cycle like uniform on. Like, I don't want anything tight, restrictive. I have big baggy clothes on today, so I'm comfy. I don't know, my nerve endings lately have just been really like sensitive, and I just need room to breathe and stretch, and lots of nerve, like ascension symptoms. Like, I'm just a little irritable. What have you been experiencing in this pre-shadow Mercury retrograde? It's going to be a doozy, so brace yourself, folks.
Yeah, 100% irritable, actually. Now you mention it, I was like, yeah, I have been a bit irritable, especially last night. Very easily sort of het up and triggered. But yeah, it's just, I mean, the heat here doesn't help. We've got this horrendous, horrendous, like, you can't complain. It's either rain or it's melting hot in London. So, you do think, well, at least the sun is kind of out, but it is quite difficult to move around and do stuff. So that makes you a bit more irritable. And then I was like not very hungry, but then I started to feel a bit hangry because I was like probably a bit low in carbs. So I thought, oh, I better eat, and that helped my my mood. But it's a funny old time, isn't it? It does feel
really
like
is.
Just generally world events, like suddenly, I think there was an expectation because there was that Brazilian psychic predicted. I mean, I didn't see it anyway. I thought, no, that's not going to happen. But this Brazilian psychic was predicting in the Scotland game this week, was predicting a mothership coming down and abducting a load of people. So my first thought was, when a prediction like that gains traction, it usually doesn't happen.
Right.
Secondly, I thought, well, if these things are going to happen, there's a lot of psychic messages coming through for 2027. And also some strange events at the end of 26. Well, we're not really there yet, so that's like another thing. And then also, of course, they could have come down and just given us all screen memories, and we wouldn't know or remember it anyway.
And don't forget Project Bluebeam. There is a lot of there are a lot of psyops and things, you always
Yeah,
have to have a discerning eye because, like I said with the disclosure movie review, the disclosure comes within our light codes.
yeah.
And it's almost like what David Wilcox, rest in peace, what he said about the Great Awakening. It's a suddenly a coming online of, my name is Jessica, and you may.
Sorry, that's
Oh, I was like, wait, what?
that's Jessica talking because I'm trying to just close her down before she's interrupting
Project
the flow. Sorry,
Project
Jessica.
Bluebeam.
Anyway, carry on, Jessica.
No worries. No worries. I was like, is that feedback? Is that
That's you.
my higher
Yeah, I'm
self
just
coming
trying.
through?
Yeah, I was just trying to check on a message and then I've accidentally played you.
No worries.
Introducing.
Too
Introducing.
many.
Yeah. Sorry,
Too
go on, go
many.
on, go on. What was your
Oh no,
flow?
you're good. You're good. I forget where I was.
Project, well,
Project
you were
Blue.
talking about
Yeah.
Project Bluebeam and this is it, the psyops. Exactly,
Yeah,
exactly.
the full disclosure is coming from within, and the David Wilcox, the Great Awakening, is really the consciousness, the human consciousness coming online and reaching its full potential of remembering.
Hmm.
And for me, a lot of past life skills, and like I've been, if anyone is irritable, I've just been really allowing myself to not be on a schedule. That's something that's healing my inner child
Yeah.
and really, deregulating the nervous system and kind of just being out in nature alone with my
Mm-hmm.
thoughts and creative like flow.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, I think there's just a lot of programming that's going on in
Oh
the
yeah.
commercials, in the ads,
Yeah.
in Facebook. I'm getting like, I don't even, honestly, I want to close down my Facebook account, but I have a business. But there's like fake notifications from
Mm.
friends that I know are
Oh
fake and like have not donated to certain foundations and things like that.
yeah.
It's so much of it is fake. And then we
Yeah.
have to have a discerning eye with Project Bluebeam. And the World Cup is a huge ritualistic energy
Yes.
harvesting
Yeah. 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 And distraction,
event.
of course. Yeah.
Mhm.
100%.
So, do you
It's
think there's actually going to be some abductions at the World Cup?
no. Well, if they are, then we won't know
Won't
about
hear
them. I
about
don't
it.
think it's something
Yeah,
we can then
I agree.
return to and go, "Oh, look, there it is. Yes, it's all happened." I don't see anything like that. I think people are abducted regularly, and then they're plopped back in their bed, aren't they? But I don't. Yeah, I don't think. I think I think you're right. I think that was my first thought actually, was that it's just a psyop and that it's designed to, make everybody. uh, I mean, those sorts of exercises are just, I think, are just designed to make everybody look a bit silly if they believed it, you see. So everybody's like, oh, it's going to, and then it's like, yeah, so and you've got all the smart comments, oh, it's the end of the world. Oh, I wonder how the people at the end of the world are feeling today, realizing they're still here. And, there's a lot of mocking, and that's how really they have controlled us. I mean, that is still very much how we're controlled. We're controlled through the mocking of anything, sort of esoteric. And people use mocking, don't they, to control. There's a massive toxic masculine culture where men just can't admit to certain things in case they're mocked by their friends. So
Yeah.
yeah, there's I did see it as a psyop, and I did think, yeah, like, no, if anything does happen, it's not going to be. Also, I think if they're trying to reach us, then they probably need to descend on a sort of like maybe a spiritual festival or a music festival or a young person's festival or something along those lines, rather than a load of like football people. Now obviously I'm not knocking football people, but you do have some of the the most hardened skeptics among soccer fans. And people are skeptic for a reason, you know, and I think that they use skepticism often just to protect themselves, because I know many people I know who are skeptic of different things. When they think they're faced with something that could possibly be, you know, evidence, you see them really look freaked out and they're scared. So yeah, a lot of the time, I'm not saying everybody, but a lot of the time skeptics, not skeptics, cynics really, I think, are just protecting their sense of self because they find it all a bit scary.
Yeah, definitely. And another week of, I just want to, this is a bad segue, but I forgot. I did another remote viewing exercise. So if you guys want to practice, we have another thing, and I will reveal at the end of the show. So it's a little bit more of a simpler item in shape, and that's your only clue.
Okay.
And we'll reveal at the end. So don't be worried about being wrong. Like I said, the psychic web, you pull in something always. And as you practice, you learn what you're naturally gifted at with remote viewing. So sometimes it can be precognitive, sometimes it can be postcognitive. Sometimes it's an object that was historically sitting next to that object right before, whatever the case may be, write down any impressions that you have. And this is just your, little weekly fun exercise. Yeah.
Little exercise. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I wanted to share, there's been a lot of skepticism in Hollywood and the Epstein files with clones. And personally, yeah, my last year has been crazy with decoding and uncovering all the nefarious things that they were trying to initiate me into as a psychic. And I just want to help people kind of like navigate. That's the real disclosure, in my opinion, is realizing how much just truly around us is actually fake. You have to be able to see through the illusions and the delusions. And it's just a reminder not to want to idolize or worship anybody outside of ourselves. Obviously we don't want to like worship ourselves and let the ego run amok, but we are the real celebrities. That's the true disclosure, in my opinion. And understanding, coming to that great awakening and that remembrance of who we are is a natural protection, I would say, spiritually. Gives you spiritual endurance. And it gives you that creative force to kind of create your own universal weaving of your own magic. So one of the big things I feel that is an ascension symptom right now because of the nerve endings and the irritability. Like I always notice when my hamstrings are tight, I'm more irritable, like hands down. So start to kind of understand your physical symptoms married and fused with the emotional symptoms. They're always going to tell you a story. They're always going to tell you where you are, a pulse in the ascension process. It's giving you that checks and balances, that mirror reflection of where you're at. And Wendy says, I agree with all of this. My joints have been killing me this week, and that is not usual for me. I haven't been to the theater since Purple Rain came to theaters after Prince passed. Still in mourning. Oh, yes, rest in peace. He told us so much truth. And that's another thing. I'm going to show you some Heidi Klum pics as well. I find that the celebrities are always trying to give us little like clues. It's a game of clue. All right. So let's put this add to stage. Here we go.
A new clone of themselves.
Start it from the beginning.
They can basically.
No. Okay.
In this industry, what you must understand is, when you do sell your soul, you are allowed to live forever. And these people that are called youngins, like I was, had no idea that these people still live. They will prey, haunt, kidnap, anything to stay on top. This is their world. They have nothing but time, is what they believe. The art of exchanging spirits, trading spirits.
And then when they do die, they can move their consciousness from their decaying body, from their dead, body to a new clone of themselves. They can basically, they can harness and control and transport the informational bundle that is a soul from one piece of hardware to another, or wetware to another. They know how to do this, and this is why, like, in all the human myths about Apollo and Aphrodite and whatever, Zeus himself, these gods seem like they live forever. They always look the same, and whereas humans are, being born and dying generation after generation, these Nordics these gods always look the same, because first of all, their lifespans are thousands of our years per body, and then also they can move their consciousness into clones of themselves. So yeah, it's exactly as you describe it. It was done a very long time ago, and these are the people who manage us.
Okay, so hopefully you guys heard that. Did you hear that, Zara?
I did, yeah. It's interesting actually, because I recently saw that conversation. Now, I can't remember who the interviewer was, but it was Anne Hathaway being interviewed, and they raised the fact that Anne Hathaway had. So here we go again. No facts here.
I'll alleged anyway. Yeah.
But they raised a historic group of coincidences from a historic Anne Hathaway who had, I think it was even that Anne Hathaway had married the same. Anyway, it's all the same setup as Anne Hathaway now, to going back sort of 200-300 years. So and then obviously watching those photos just flick through, and I've seen some of them. They are uncanny.
Even the expressions too. Like it's the expressions for me in a soul that, in the aura that I can, just like Jack Black, just his face, you know what I mean? It's the mannerisms for me that you can also see in similar bloodlines and shared DNA of celebrities. So many celebrities look alike. It just looks like they're having this incestuous little recycling of DNA.
100%. And then they've clearly, when whoever's cloned Margot Robbie, they've got excited, haven't they? Thought, well, like let's have five Margot Robbies. And because there's literally, I mean, I say 5, but there is now at least 2 other identical looking women alongside, I can't remember their names, but alongside Margot Robbie. So it's clear, isn't it? I mean,
and same with Sabrina Carpenter and Hayden Panettiere, or Hannah, what is her name? From Remember the Titans. She was the little girl. I forget her name, but she's got a lot of yacht girl scandal stuff going on as well, allegedly. But they do look a lot alike. I don't know if I so much believe that Sabrina Carpenter is Hillary Clinton's doppelganger or clone, but listen, you never know. They look a little different to me. It looks more like Hayden Panettiere, in my opinion. But
interestingly, because that's another thing, because there is, I'm sure there's evidence out there, but research isn't my strong point, but the people oh, I've lost all thread now. I've just had my son is at his friend's house, right? Actually, you carry on. I'll just text her, and then I won't, because I'm all discombobulated now. So she says they're in the pool at the moment. So she says they've been in the pool and now they've gone back in the pool. When do you want him home? So I better just let her know. Don't keep him overnight. That's fine. No, I'm just joking. Only joking. Only joking. So yeah, sorry.
No
I'll
worries,
hand over to you. I'll just
Yeah.
text back and then I won't be distracted.
Yeah. Alrighty. So what I'm going to do is, because I was having issues with the presentation portion of my StreamYard last week, I didn't think y'all could hear. I'm going to share the detox bath for people that maybe are struggling with symptoms of, I'm going to say the jab, allegedly. I'm going to share that with you guys really quickly. Here we go.
Detox baths. They take care of radiation. So I love detox baths. They take care of radiation poisoning. They take care of pesticides. They take care of heavy metals, all kinds of things, even some parasites. So if you got a bathtub, you know someone's got a bathtub, that's the easiest, fastest way. Good old baking soda. So 1 or 2 cups of baking soda, 1 or 2 cups of Epsom salts in there. That already is a wonderful radiation detox. It gets fungus, yeast out of your body as well. You add a little bit of bentonite clay. Aztec Secret is a wonderful brand, 1/2 to 1 cup. Now you've also got a major pull of poison coming out. You add in 1 cup of borax, you know, that laundry detergent. That'll take nanotechnology out of you. You scrub down, scrub down, scrub down. 20 minutes, as hot as you tolerate it, right? So I love detox baths.
Alrighty. Okay, so that's my, my little, I'm all about the health, journey and, sharing all of my insights as much as possible. I always joke, I'm like, if anyone asks me out on a date, I'm like, there's 2 screening questions. 1, were you vaccinated? 2, I see dead people. You'll see an immediate reaction.
Yeah. Well, absolutely. Following my separation, my divorce that's going through, I literally am like the criteria has gone from like this to like this, and if I can't talk about what I need, if I can't be who I need to be, then they won't even get a how you doing. It really is so important that you have to be yourself, don't you? You just have to be yourself.
Oh yeah.
You just can't be
with these days, with all the clones out there, you never know. Regular people being cloned as well, hijacked by mind control. I mean, it's stranger than fiction, folks. And personally, I've experienced it and had to use my spiritual eye to get through it. It was just absolute craziness.
Right. I mean, I rely on my third eye so much now, just literally just peering into people's energies before I even want to, sort of exchange a conversation with them. So, but it's a very interesting thing. I think that just generally people are using their intuition more. But when you were saying about who's around and everything, who you come in contact with, that's another fact that popped up, because apparently Dolores Cannon said that 80% of people are NPCs, soulless,
background people,
background actors. So which is kind of sort of hard to get your head around as well, isn't it? But I mean,
I come in contact with them all the time. I used to, in my youth, would get caught up in trying to get them to like have a
Enlighten
pulse.
them.
Yeah. And like, it's like ramming yourself into a brick wall over and
Yeah.
over again. I don't even, now it's like, if I would have known that in my 20s, my God.
Yeah.
But yeah,
It would have
you
been
have to,
a completely different life path, isn't it? If you could take your knowledge that you have now back then, it would just be a completely different life path, wouldn't it? It's it's crazy.
yeah. And what I noticed, I don't know if you, the aura, like anything characteristically that pops out at you, but for me, they don't have like light within shining in their aura. There's not a glow to them.
Yeah,
And
and
they're
quite
very like
closed.
very
Closed.
scripted, very
Yeah,
scripted.
you can't see beyond the facade with them. They're very sort of closed, and there's not you can't reach them, can you? It's they're little, they are I suppose they're empty is what I'm feeling when I see them. They're pretty empty and shallow, and
Yeah, and they
yeah,
don't have the operating um top chakras. It's like just a
right,
kind of like root chakra existence kind of thing.
yeah,
Then
yeah,
there's like actual robots that are just like people have caught them stuck and frozen in an action, like, or people driving and doing the same thing, like you're in the Truman Show. I have noticed
mm,
that. I don't know if you've heard of the conspiracy theory of the ice cream people that play music that's like kind of a trance for kids and like MK Ultra, but I definitely saw that where I used to live in Oak
yeah,
Cliff in Texas.
right,
And yeah, they would have those little, I feel like they were CIA agents that were pushing around carts for ice cream for kids after school in the tougher parts of town for sure. And they would play that me, like, music. And it was just like, I even sometimes when I would hear it on the balcony, I would kind of like go into like a kid like trance. But yeah,
mm.
yeah,
Yeah, that's interesting actually, isn't it? It's a very, very simple programming for children, isn't it? That's everybody can recognize immediately that they are mind controlled when they literally see their children ding, 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 and then they're like bombing it out there. It's funny because sometimes I hear it and the kids don't say anything, and then other times um I don't hear it at all, and they're like, "Come on, ice cream!" Like, but they don't always hear it, like, because I imagine that if they heard it as often as it came, I mean, sometimes he's round every night, so it's interesting. But I see Lulabelle, I have doppelgangers, as there's been strangers who think they know me, hope it's not a clone. Well, it's interesting, but of course there are sometimes doppelgangers, and I know that people have said, oh, your mannerisms are just like that person, they remind me of that person, and it's not necessarily what you look like even. But sometimes, of course, there'll be fractals of your soul off doing another life somewhere else. And then, that person could come in contact with you and then come in contact with your other fractal.
yeah, I know. There's so much. There's so much. If I had $1 for every time someone was like staring at me and they're like, I have this friend like looks exactly like you. And people
Yeah.
used to tell me, they were like, I was at the beach or I was traveling and I literally saw you. It was so weird. So, and when I used to have an Airbnb, I used to be a super host when I was in nursing school because there just wasn't any time to work and also be in clinicals at the same time. So I was hustling doing Airbnb, and like this was like back in the day, like in 2013, 14, before they put all the hospitality fees in New Orleans. Like it was now, we were banking as Airbnb hosts, but down in the warehouse district next to the convention center. It was my jam. And I was meeting so many cool people from all around the world, hosting them in my apartment. And one couple that came and stayed, they were like, "Did you come in last night? We saw you sitting at the foot of our bed." Or your bed, really. And I was
Wow.
like, "No." They were like, "We literally heard footsteps." And it was cool because, like, before, in those days in Airbnb, like, people like from Germany and stuff, they'd want to like hang out with me before I would leave them to it. Like, I would show them around and I would like introduce myself and then I'd let them have the weekend. And we had gone and like got some drinks and some, appetizers beforehand. And they were just really cool. And they were like, "We had to take a double take that you hadn't come in the apartment." I was like, "No, that'd be super creepy. Like, I would never do that to you." And they were like, "Yeah," like suddenly it vanished. But it was
Right.
in the middle of the night. We like didn't know. And I was like, "I wonder if
You
that was like
might
my
have been,
astral body
yeah, I
or
was going to say, you were
something."
probably traveling, weren't you?
Yeah. And New Orleans, on top of that, has a whole nother energy
Yeah.
in and of
Yeah.
itself. It's like,
Yeah, it has,
um,
hasn't it? I mean, I've not been and I'd love to go, but yeah, I am aware of the energy and atmosphere around New Orleans. So it's interesting.
so the soul could probably jump into different,
Yeah,
maybe NPCs or shells of the body at certain
yeah,
times too.
yeah.
There's so much here. There's
There,
vampires in New
yeah,
Orleans,
yeah.
as Miss
There,
Bev always talks about. Yeah.
yeah. So that's interesting as well, because my friend, she's got a young, well, he's not young anymore, but when he was young, her son, he was always a very spiritual lad. And he used to like one time the teacher sort of said he's not really concentrating in class. So she said to him, "So what's going on?" Like he says, "Oh, I go to the library." She says, "No, the teacher says you're in your seat." And he went, "Yeah, I'm in my seat, but I walk to the library." She says, "What do you do then?" She says, he goes, "I go to the library, I look at some books, and then, and read some books in the library, and then I come back." So she was like, "Hmm." And then had a friend came round, and he was downstairs in the at the dining table doing his homework. And anyway, she said, "Oh, come up, I'll show you." So her and the friend went upstairs and they were doing stuff. And they saw him in his bedroom playing his computer game. Didn't think anything of it. Came back down and then saw him at the table doing his homework. So they were like both like, she said, because my friend's very spiritual, this other lady sort of went, but he was upstairs. We were just seeing him up there. Because there's only, it's a small house. There's only one way through. Anyway, and so she said, "Yeah, yeah, yeah." Anyway, so it changed the subject because she just didn't really know how to explain it. But she understood he was traveling, and that's
Mm.
that can happen. Whether you're asleep or whether you're awake or whatever, isn't it? It's out of body. But yeah, he was doing that as a child, as a young child. So
That's
it's
one thing. That's one thing the off-worlders and the Arcturians, especially the Arcturians, always talk to me about. They're always fascinated by the emotional states and status of humans because that
mm,
dictates our ability to travel. And
yeah,
we have the keys to
mm,
all the different off-world domes. We have the keys to, like, unlike any other beings that are kind of like maybe more restricted to certain time densities, I like to call them. Um, we as humans don't know the true magnitude of our power, our magnetism, and our ability to travel via our emotions. And I think I just the most recent episode I just posted talked about this, is that our emotions are the vehicle to wealth and health, but as well as the ascension of magnetism and using the principles of the magnetism of the chakras, using the Merkaba, using the vehicle of our bodies as the map to the cosmos. Like, we don't know how powerful we truly are. And that's why it's so important to be in control of the emotions. And it's fascinating. I think that's why all the off-worlders were kind of like reality show, like gold, is they're wondering when we're going to wake up to it. They're what, because they don't understand our emotions, like why it's so hard for us to let go of things, why it's so hard. And I think part of that is because we've been dumbed down, watered down, and we get stuck in these, they want us to get stuck in these loops of like lack mindsets and grief. They want us to, death in the family. They want that to be like something that holds us back. I mean, I've seen that in my family. I'm sure you as a medium have seen tons and tons of people being set back by a parent dying early on or a sibling dying early on. It's like humans will take that on as their own like burden to carry up throughout life,
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Heart coherence. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's just such a massive subject, isn't it? Grief and the relationship with grief and everything like that. I mean, I feel pretty qualified in that area actually, but I just wanted to go back to Lula Bell.
Yeah.
She said about the word doppelganger, and it's interesting because apparently the word doppelganger came about at the time when the clone program first took off, after Nazi Germany came to, like, the seniors of senior Nazis and scientists came over to America after the war. So there we are. You see, there is a direct reference to clones with that doppelganger. I can't remember the details because, as I say, no facts.
I wonder if it's connected to Clonaid in Canada, the cloning data bank. It's like a cryo bank of DNA. I wonder if that's also connected.
Possibly, but it was certainly referenced as that's where we get the doppelgangers from. So doppel is double, isn't it? I'm not sure what gangers is in German, but yeah, obviously double, people's doubles. But that's where that came from, the actual cloning program. Which obviously has never been made clear, and it sounds like one of the biggest conspiracies, the crazy conspiracies. And I think there's so many. I just feel it as soon as I talk about clones. I just feel anybody that comes across it in videos is just going there. We all know it's happening, but I think it is really hard for those in the 3D world to kind of accept it, even though you go to California and there's loads of people who pay for their pets to be cloned, and
oh my God, that's so scary. Let's just, truth be told, let's really get down to it. You can clone the flesh, but the soul, that's where we get into murky territory. And that's where body jumping, body swapping, destiny swapping, all of that is in Hollywood being used against the average human soul, that we don't even realize what's going on around us, who's being cloned, who's been abducted and then put back. And then suddenly, part of my experience, I wonder, in the spiritual community, when you talk about karmic path, when someone turns soulmate but then makes a choice a free will choice and suddenly turns karmic and then it becomes toxic. That always makes me wonder if in the spiritual astral dimension and realm, if suddenly through free will choice that gives way to a new karmic path where actually you are vulnerable to the MK Ultra and the cloning process and don't really know it, and you take 5 steps back, you regress back into old patterns or lessons that you have to relearn, if that's actually opening your vessel up to halves of splitting of the soul. You know, there's just so much. There's so much to question, and which is also more of a reason to be in charge of your healing, to like blast through those doors of fear, to not hand your power over to the FDA and the government and healthcare. I mean, we are seeing Zara and I were talking about it. We're seeing a huge shift in healthcare. I saw United Healthcare, one of the main health insurance companies here in America, actually twins were just newly born and one had to go to the NICU, and the United Healthcare sent a letter addressed to the newborn saying, we will not cover your NICU stay right after birth. And I was like, that's ridiculous. That's absolutely ridiculous. And I was telling my mom about that, and she was like, well, with the health insurance, I know y'all have NHS, right? It's like much more covered than America. But yeah, so like my mom was like, well, normally when you go in to give birth, you know what's covered in terms of NICU should things arise and stuff. And I was like, no, this person, it was addressed to the newborn after the fact, after the newborn obviously had to go to the NICU and the incubator. And so anyway, just weird stuff like that in America. That's you can feel the shifts.
Crackers. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to, unless you're kind of educated on the American health system, it's quite hard to sort of understand really. And I think that's the thing, because the British system is NHS, we do kind of take it for granted. And then you do think, well, how does it actually work? Obviously, you've got your insurance and stuff, but then, yeah, like you say, in my experience, whenever you get insurance, there's so much that isn't covered. So
it's a scam. Yeah.
Yeah, it is a scam. It's a scam. So I have to say there are certain insurances that I would get, but I try and steer clear of as much insurance as possible, because I just think it's just it's kind of like impending doom as well, isn't it? I mean, I think it's difficult because I know that, if your house was to burn, see, this was always my thing. Well, if your house was to burn down and you've got to replace, you've got to buy yourself a new house or have it rebuilt, and you've got to replace all the items in it. But, what's the percentage of individuals that actually experience that in their life? I mean, it must be so.
Well, I almost burned down my house.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. I just have this thing with fire. Almost. Yeah. I had this. I ruined a bunch of good tuna steaks, but I had to take out. I always know where my fire extinguisher is. I don't know if it's just because I'm an air sign and I've got a lot of air in my chart, but yeah, I always make fire wherever I go, both literally and metaphorically.
Yeah, but I think that's the thing. I think that obviously you controlled it, and then but I mean, who actually does find themselves burnt to the ground with no?
Right.
I mean, it does happen.
And I've burned myself before. This whole eye.
Ooh,
and you can't tell, but I don't know. I got like an electrical. That was one experience where I really felt protected by spirit. I did something like in a panic. My grease started catching fire on my stove, and in a panic I threw water, and like right at the same time, like the Matrix, I felt like instinct. But the flame was like right here. I had to go to the doctor just because I was like, I feel like I'm burned. But I honestly felt my guides and some big beings step in front. And it just like, I had just put on bee magic. So like a beeswax, like body butter. So I think that also kind of it protected me from it. But yeah, no, I have a huge, there's no scar, but I totally burned like this side of my face.
Oh,
I've had
burns are
terrible,
horrible.
terrible things with fire. I know. I'm like a dumb blonde.
Oh, well, that's
Yeah.
horrible. I used to be very scared of fire when I was a kid, but I respect it now. But unfortunately, my memory is so shocking that anything I put on the hob, I'll just walk straight off and forget about it. So I have to have lots of sort of safety gadgets these days, so I don't have to, worry about it too much. But that's an interesting question.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Mystic Mama says, I've heard an unsettling theory that we may all have clones. I do believe, just knowing what I know, with like there's one monopoly on owning all of and collecting all of the DNA and the blood samples and the hazardous materials from all the hospitals and everything. I think like just in the movie Us by Jordan Peele, how there's like an underground level of all the zombie versions. Yeah, I think we all have clones. I think that can be interchanged. And in fact, I've kind of like experienced that on a spiritual level with all of my Illuminati shenanigans. You don't even know when they've like superimposed the clone version of like the person you are in a relationship with that suddenly went karmic and is not acting fully like firing on all cylinders like you remember.
That's very common, I think.
I think it happened to me, honestly. It could be dissociation because of all the trauma, but my ex definitely went missing on Valentine's Day for 8 hours and thought he was missing only for 15, and came in crying about how horrible the world was, like bawling, crying. And I was just like, you couldn't have gotten me a Valentine's Day card, but I didn't say anything. And I had already kind of stepped out of the relationship mentally already because there was a lot of weird things going on, and I was just clocking it. And it wasn't the person that I remembered from the start of the relationship. And so you have to fly solely based on the intuitive nudges, no matter how crazy it may seem.
Yeah, that is definitely what I've learned in the last few years, is that anything that you think is far out and out there and crazy and unrealistic, and they are all turning out to be reality. And you can sit there and, like, it goes back to sort of laughing at people with crazy theories, but the reality is that they're all turning out to be true. It's and what you speak of is very common within sort of MK Ultra individuals, where their handlers are brought in, and then they're told, if they start to wake up, then you need to let us know. But also their handlers are also MK Ultra'd, and they aren't aware that they've been fixed up. They all think it's just this natural state, and then they start to wake up. And there was a fascinating interview with a lady on Guy on the YouTube channel Tesla and the Cabbage Patch Kids. She was a survivor of MK Ultra. She spoke very, very in full about her abuse and who she'd been passed to, and named many, many famous people. And she said she she was set up with set up with her husband. Obviously he was her handler. She obviously didn't know this at the time, but then one day she just noticed that he wasn't himself, and then you know, he didn't remember something, or you know, and it was just like bing, he's been replaced with a clone. And you imagine that, being married to someone, this lady was in her 60s, I think, been married to someone for years and years and not having any clue that that person had been replaced, only at the point where they sort of, you know, there was something and it was like, right. I mean, you get these little micro expressions, micro, like, you know, tiny signs that you don't really, you're processing, and your psychic intuition that you're processing, but then obviously the final penny drops and he, you know, but yeah, so
I just got the download too, just with all my stuff, is that it depends on the generational bloodline curse. What is part of your fate, but also the biggest is free will.
yeah,
So obviously my father's in the Freemasons. My Gillespie last name is also connected with Druid, the Scottish Druids, which, you know, it was weird. My brother knew all of that magician type history the second he did a commercial allegedly with Aaron Rodgers. Like, so there's just a lot of stuff that was encircling around me that I didn't put together until later on in life.
yeah,
And then I also think the bloodline of my ex was also DNA that was being tracked. They were trying to get him to be my handler, and then that wasn't working. And I kind of went rogue. And so they started targeting him as well. I don't know if he was conscious of it or not, because then he ended up getting arrested with the left eye ritual in his mugshot. And it's obvious. I don't know if he's aware. I haven't talked to him, but won't be talking to him. But
No.
yeah, and hopefully, let's just like all say a prayer collectively that this Mercury retrograde, we don't slide back into old ways, that we move and push forward, and we don't rehash and regress into old toxic patterns. Because we got to get moving. This humanity's we got to change the game.
100%. There's something in the air that tells me that even those who have repeated patterns over and over are moving on. I just feel like the whole world has shifted. And you know, what with relationships, separation of relationships, changing of cycles, the world changing its cycle, there is, you know, I mean, the crazy like we were saying off air, that about the amount of I mean, the Ring of Fire is just rumbling all over with earthquakes. You've got 7.7, was it in Japan? 7.7 in Venezuela, and then you've got 6s in Japan. In the whole, it's like, and that's the interesting thing, you see, because when we were talking about the Mexican football match, it's like this feels connected, right? When she's coming in, she's saying this is going to happen, we think maybe something's going to happen, then obviously it doesn't happen, but then suddenly we've got earthquakes popping off all left, right and center. There's
probably in very sacred ley line places and things like that in the grid. The grid's definitely under attack as well, coming up in 2027. I feel.
Well, also, I'm not sure if it's happened yet, but apparently they're turning CERN off for a number of years. I don't know if that's true or if that's again psyop and what that entails.
I think they said it was turned off on February 17th, maybe, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, because I think they're definitely talking about an upcoming turn off.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know what that's about. But anyway, it just feels like there is really, yeah, it's like, now it's interesting because of all these storms and these things, this weather engineering, I'm starting to feel like, and although the Schumann resonance has been like crackers as well, hasn't it? And there's been plenty of blackouts in the Schumann resonance and everything.
Yeah.
But I do wonder whether they, you know, that they've got these underground bases, and it makes me wonder, are they able to engineer these earthquakes as well?
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably from the domes in the sea as well. Yeah.
Right.
Or
Right.
domes, I think. Yeah. Those,
Yeah.
they produce frequencies that can, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Everything in this terrarium is 100% the Truman Show, in my opinion.
Yeah. And this is it. It's like, you know, the sooner we realize that, the sooner we just sort of back out of it, step out of it. I mean, like you say about the government and the NHS, I mean, to a certain degree, you know, I am involved with the NHS, but I sort of backed off, and they were like, right, you're not having your blood pressure pills until you give us a ring and give us some readings. So I was like, oh, slave to the system. So I had to sort of get back into it. But I tried,
you know, the middle ground, weaving in and out, finding, you gotta figure out what's best for you and how to weave in and out, you know, your self-sufficiency, your independence, but also, sometimes just like with the jab, and if you've had the vaccine, that's why I like to give you some remedies, some household remedies, because there's always a loophole, in my opinion. That's what I found. There's always kind of like an exit door if you do your research, if you find the right things that resonate with you. You can there's always a healing ground. That's the most important, is there's always a healing ground. They have to give you the tools to reverse engineer it, in my opinion. That's the full disclosure and the fourth wave of disclosure, in my opinion. But we got a question here. Let's see. I'm going to mass on Sunday school reunion with nuns. The girls don't believe I got a giggle from Mother Superior this week. What rituals should I look for?
So is that rituals at the mass, or well, I mean, just I tell you what, rather than sort of looking for something physically, your eye will be drawn. Your eye will be drawn. You will feel it. Okay, so if you are at mass and there's something happens, and it's something that you look and you think, oh look, they're doing that, there you go. That will be something. And I mean, remember, there's you know, not all nuns and not all convent and nun circles, I can't think of the word, but they're not all bad. I've heard of some absolutely stunning nuns, but the higher up they go, the more they will be involved in ritualistic behavior. So
I find it more so, especially just because I was raised Catholic, I find that the ritualistic abuse is more when you get into the Jesuit orders and the initiates for priesthood and stuff. That's where really behind the scenes, I don't find that you walk into mass and there is an energetic, just even with the holy water, and you go in with the intention, just like I said in my last post, like you can use a scalpel both to kill but also to heal, and it's what you're walking into the surgical operating room with as an intention. And so if you go into the mass and you take the bits that are enlightening and cleansing for the soul, it's absolutely a positive ceremony or a positive ritual. But, you know, some things I would say to look out for are maybe like crucifixions that are made out of wire, or that what they make sometimes in the Sunday school, what they ask the kids, it looks a little bit like voodoo. when I have seen it before. I never made that connection before, but when I saw it, I was like, huh, yeah. When I was looking at some of the at-home crafts and things that they send the kids home with and things. But yeah, I would say more often times than not that my Catholic upbringing, it gave me a good foundation or a relationship, a communication with God. But I would say that there were some priests that would talk an awfully lot about corn in Sunday Mass, and you knew that those were the priests to stay away from. And there's a lot of SA
Yeah.
behind the scenes with altar boys and things like that. So just
Yeah.
like with every institution, there's the good guys, the star seeds that are sprinkled around to change the course of the power and the change the tides of the times to a more of an enlightened for the greater good of all. But there are evil people at the top in those same institutions that are quote unquote religious, and you have to have a spiritual eye and be very discerning about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, any institution that gives individuals impunity is an absolute hotbed. So you do have to be discerning. And I think what you also, I mean, you've got that discerning eye, you've got that heart-centered sense of what is negative and what's positive. But let's just, I mean, I grew up a Christian, Church of England Christian, and so the cross was a symbol that I carried and loved. But let's face it, it's a grim symbol, and it's only in recent times, and especially the crucifix, because the pain and the I mean, sometimes they're very bloody, aren't they? They're very, very gory. And the emphasis on sacrifice.
Right.
You don't have to sacrifice anything. You have to
resurrect, teleport.
Well, it's just there's so many rituals in the church, so many negative symbolisms that have been
inverted and
inverted and disguised. I mean, the crucifix is a perfect example.
But you can take the good things like frankincense and myrrh that jog your memory and clear the generational bloodlines and things like that.
The symbolism, the rituals, they're all there in plain sight. So it's really about just being aware of them, but just don't get sucked into the energy of them.
I do not consent to the louche. I do not consent to the inversion. And a lot of times, if you look at it from a sacred geometry point of view, if you think of a box, like a 3D box, and you fold it out, it is the crucifixion. So those black cubes that they put as monuments, like in Chicago and all around the world, to keep us stuck in the 3D matrix, that could be also symbolized as the cross. But if you look on the opposite side of it, it is a protection of sacred geometry, so it's really what you go in with the intention. And I would say
always,
globally, and for anyone that's working for the light and ascension and knowledge and power for the greater good of all, what we really need to focus on here in every religious sector, there's something good to take from every religious sector, but to protect the children, to save the children, because this is it's not turning a cheek. It is recognizing that these things are rituals and behind the scenes, like not letting children go and be with a priest alone. For maybe, I would be fascinated to see. Nothing has ever happened to me. I think the only time I went to confession was the first time when I made my first communion, maybe a couple times, maybe when I also made confirmation. But I did feel a little creeped out when I would go into the confessional, and it was kind of weird with this shadowy figure behind the screen. So I didn't really like it. I was like, I'm just going to tell my confessions to God. I'm good. But I would, I would be interested. I feel just psychically, there's probably a lot of stories of SA that happen in confessionals because it's just one-on-one. It's dark and dim.
Yeah.
You can't see the person's face. It's very suspect for sure.
Yeah. I have heard stories of relationships starting in confessions because of the fact that you have that intimacy and that opening up, and you're vulnerable. You're very vulnerable in a confession, aren't you? But yeah, it's a massive subject. And it's something that I'm constantly reevaluating. But like you say, intention is everything. And not to fear. You see, that is the problem with the guilt and the fear. And that's, like you say, about sort of going into confession like that priest, like we were speaking earlier, and you said about false idols. Again, you handing your child over or not being protecting your child sufficiently amongst a priest or amongst clergy, whatever,
celebrities, or
celebrities.
Yeah.
It's all.
I would never, ever.
The foundations are built on false idols because you perceive them to be of a higher moral standard than,
or these people that let their kids, if they have a very big talent, like I know a lot in the dance community, if they had a big talent, they could go and study, or they got signed to a big agent and they were, up and coming, they would send them to live with a mentor out in LA, and that mentor would abuse them. And they were 14. Like, I would never, as a parent, I'd be like, helicopter mom up their ass. Like, no, you're not living like an adult. You're not 18. So there's things like that where it's interesting. And I'm sure that there's a lot of schmoozing and we'll take care of your child and things like that. But you have to keep your head on a swivel with things like that. Just, no matter
and
how.
trust your instinct as well. And but I mean, there are those types of parents who would rather have the priest's ear and know that they were being favored by the priest than look after, so there are a lot of, I mean, no parent wants their child to be abused, but sometimes their own feelings of validation through being chosen by a priest or whatever, or even sometimes, I mean, they are predators.
Yeah,
and
it's the grooming process of the adults
grooming
as well.
process. Yeah, we have to be aware of that. But it's a two-sided thing, and discernment.
And Disney is one of their number one tools. Disney, the Alice in Wonderland, it's all about, the trance, the spell, the spell casting, where the memory wiping and things like that. And so important to take fluoride out of the toothpaste and water filtration system, because fluoride is a memory wiper, and that's why they say, oh, it's for your teeth, and in the water, in the municipal water, and
it's not good for the pineal gland at all, is it?
No. Okay, so Lulu Bell says, why do so many people see the same shadow figure during sleep paralysis? Well, I believe that sleep paralysis is getting stuck on the fourth dimension. and it is interdimensional beings I like to call hop-alongs, that will try to catch a wave in back to your body, and you can't get fully back into your body and move musculature, but you can. You are aware. You're lucidly. And sometimes you're just getting stuck in the fourth dimension. For me, I just call on Jesus and then I'm poof back in my body. But it took me a long time. As a kid, I used to constantly be afflicted by this. And sometimes I would even be turned around in my body, like couldn't get back right side in. I don't know if anyone else has experienced that. And I would try and scream, Mom, and I could barely get it out. It would muster all the energy to like scream, but I was very, very active as a child with sleep talking and sleepwalking and all kinds of stuff. But one of my main things was that I was infamous for was screaming mom at the bloody top of my lungs. And the only time I wasn't doing that was when I was stuck in the fourth dimension in sleep paralysis. And it's a really frustrating thing. But yeah, I just screamed Jesus and it's instantly poof. But it took me a while. I'd get stuck there for hours on end. What thoughts with you, Zara, on this question?
Well, it's interesting, the same shadow figure. So I know that Hat Man is a certain entity, isn't it? Hat Man is a certain entity, and I know that during sleep paralysis and that people do experience Hat Man. But also, just generally, I think when you are in sleep paralysis and you are in that fourth dimension, not quite into the, fully in the third dimension, or you're in both, aren't you? You're sort of straddled both dimensions, so you're just seeing other entities, aren't you? I mean, I know some people also, it's very common for ET experiencers to have sleep paralysis and see their abductors or their ET friends when they are in paralysis. And it's same shadow figure. It depends what shape is he, what shape are they, but so shadow
and how
figures,
shadowy they are. Yeah.
I mean, for example, if it's just a generic shadow, I mean, you say the same shadow. If it's generic shadow figure, I had a shadow figure following me, with me in my mid-20s. I was going through a rough time, but it was there. It was, it was tall. But then I just knew that it was probably just a guardian angel, somebody helping me. I've never had, thankfully, because I think it can be scary for people. I've not had sleep paralysis, and I've only ever had voices shout in my ear, in that period of waking. And so I've had that many times where it's like, and you go,
Yeah.
whoa, what wakes you right up.
I've actually had like ringing in my ear from like whenever all the shenanigans was going on, like from one of my ex's friends. I could like my eardrum hurt the next day.
Wow.
They were screaming witchcraft in my ear. It was crazy.
Wow.
I've never experienced that since or before, but
No.
it like literally I was woken straight out of bed with that. And also when there was a time right before I really like went to psychic medium school and really honed in on like my abilities. I was like really obsessed suddenly with my ancestral tree and looking up things, and the Gillespie roots went all the way back up to, obviously they started as the Druids in Scotland, and they were kind of kicked out by the royal, family, and they started over, kind of went incognito as more doctors in America, and instead of the healers and the memory keepers to the king. And they were known as like the magicians. They knew sacred magic. But there was a branch of the Gillespies that stayed in Chicago and didn't go to Nebraska. They stayed in Chicago and they worked as exoplasm mediums, where I don't know if you've ever seen in those old Houdini circus shows and that traveled.
Yeah, physical mediumship.
Yes, they would. Okay, and so
Weird.
I went down a rabbit hole and I was like, this is fascinating. This might be why I have medium abilities. And I can't tell you, as a kid, I was coughing up phlegm every morning. Now I'm not, because I don't eat cheese. And I've noticed like all of my sinus stuff, like no dairy, all went out the window. But yes, I was like drowning in mostly phlegm in the mornings as a kid. But anyway, side note, that was a side note. But yeah, so the exoplasm, I became obsessed, and you could see in those days, it was like the 411 was in the newspaper, right? And so I could find tons of articles and pictures of my ancestors doing this exoplasmic, like mediumship, like vomit or whatever. And when I fell asleep, so here's where you also need to protect yourself when looking at Epstein file photos. Pictures and film are portals. And when I went to bed that night, this was a really, really profound night of sleep paralysis, because when I was looking at those pictures later on that night, trying to get back to my body from like REM sleep back to like slow waking, I got stuck in the fourth dimension. And when I couldn't get out, like suddenly that being was like, the exoplasm came in my face, and I was like, oh my God. So next time I like said a prayer of protection and things when I looked at the photo. But those things will definitely kind of like stick with you. You know, whatever you're watching when you fall asleep, whatever you're looking at earlier that day. So yeah, psychic protection, so important.
Yeah, it's so funny actually, because recently they're not quite, I wouldn't call them lucid dreams, but I'll be listening to the podcast, because I have one of those bands on. And so I put that on, fall asleep to it, and sometimes it will just, sometimes they're like 3.5 hours long. So, and then I'll just be rousing in my sleep, and then I must be in a half state, because last night the the podcast I was listening to was the Mystery Boys, and with Kurt Metzger, and hi, and he was my boyfriend. Okay, so I was going out with Kurt Metzger, and he was chatting to the other, I can't remember his name now, but the other presenter. And they were having a talk, and then he turned around and he said, "Did I tell you this?" And I went, yes, you told us you told us in the car the other day. Anyway, when I woke up, I realized that I was listening again to a podcast I'd listened to. So that's why I thought I'd heard it again, because I had heard it again, but there was me telling him, yes, you told us in the car the other day. But that's happened a couple of times where the stuff comes through into my dreams, and then I'm answering, and then one other time it was rambling on, and I was like, God, you can't get a word in my dream. I can't get a word in with this one. Like, I'm trying to talk and you're not even pausing, because I'm talking to a podcast that's actually outside of my dream. So that was pretty crazy, but yeah.
But your subconscious is always scanning for things that are like relevant themes in your everyday waking life. And that will sometimes be why your subconscious pulls in that particular person, podcaster, or, it's that recognition, which is so fascinating. And if you like have dreams of celebrities, it's usually a representation of someone that reminds you of that celebrity's personality or persona, because let's be honest, they're just puppets. But yeah. Okay, so last question, because I have to run and go to another reading. Sorry, guys, it's been so fun, and thanks for hanging out with us and talking
Yeah, thank you.
and listening to all our weird, like, you know, advice and suggestions or theories. All alleged, entertainment purposes only. But the last one, QQQ, I went to a higher self and oversoul reading a little bit ago, and he told me I am a partial walk-in. Just wondering if that's true. What are your thoughts? What are you getting downloaded with this one?
Right. Well, it's interesting. Partial walk-in. Right. Yeah, there is. I'm hearing something. I'm hearing that there was an accident. There was a near miss. I was like near-death experience, but it wasn't near-death experience. There was a near miss at one point, and I do see something transferring in, but I don't quite understand what partial means. So yeah, I am seeing that there was an occasion in your life that was a near miss accident. So I don't know if you can take that, and I'm not quite sure how, partially, because I don't really understand how you can be a partial walk-in. But maybe something I can look into. But yeah, I do see a like a near miss something or other, that coincides with something to do with walking into a body, but I don't quite understand it.
So I got a yes. I got a yes, and I agree with Zara. There was some traumatic event that fractured the soul, which allowed for the partial walk-in, so to speak. So the trick is to find heart coherence. There is a need or a want I'm feeling in your aura for the two to be unioned and like fused back together. It almost feels like when the retina gets detached as well. That's immediately the download I got, something about retina and the eye, maybe like whiplash as well. Or that just was how the walk-in partially, it was the traumatic whiplash, you know, part of your soul fractured it. You know, it felt like an accident, so to speak. But there was definitely some tower moment, something that could have spiritually felt like an accident, and it whacked you out of your body, and then part of it came back, and another being stepped in to help with the trauma until you were ready to heal. But yeah, I would agree with this reading.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah. Well, all right, guys, it was a pleasure. Always a good time. We'll be back next week at the same time, and bring your questions, leave your comments. Tell us what you want to hear about, what you want to, you know, feature next time. I think the most recent clone that's like really been like, oh, screaming at me is Keke Palmer and Whitney Houston. I feel like Keke Palmer has some doppelganger vibes of Whitney Houston.
Oh, yeah. I don't know what she looks like, but don't forget your bag.
Oh, yes. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Dun, dun, dun. Drum roll. It is an organite. So this breaks up electromagnetic smog, EMF. This is great to have next to your computers when you sleep. It's kind of like, you know, a pyramid version of a Faraday bag.
Oh, yeah.
And this is an abundant one. So, you know, there's a clear quartz in there. There is some aventurine bits, copper wire as well. And so, I don't know. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. All righty, guys. See y'all next week. Love and light.